That old man just sits on his couch all day. That's what my daughter-in-law said about me in a video she posted online to thousands of people who didn't even know me. And when I saw the comments, the laughter, the judgment, I realized it was finally time for the truth. Because I wasn't sitting on that couch out of laziness. I was sitting there to stay alive. Before I continue, please like this video, subscribe, and stay with me until the end. Because what happened next didn't just change my life. It changed theirs too. The house on Maple Lane. My name is Thomas Walker, and I'm 72 years old. I live in a small suburban neighborhood in Ohio, on a quiet street called Maple Lane. The kind of street where every house has a porch, every lawn has a mower line, and everybody waves when you drive by. 3 years ago, I lost my wife Margaret to lung cancer. We had been married for 49 years. She was the kind of woman who made every room feel warmer just by standing in it. When she passed, the house felt too empty. The walls echoed. The silence got heavy. So my son, Michael, and his wife, Sienna, insisted I move in with them. They said it was family. They said it was love. They said I would never be alone. And for a while, I believed that. Their house was nice, modern, bright, always smelling like coffee and fresh laundry. They had a 7-year-old son, Jack, my grandson, full of energy and always wearing superhero pajamas. Life should have felt okay. But grief doesn't care where you live. It follows you. And the truth was, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. My heart wasn't like everyone else's. I didn't get around easily. Some mornings, standing up felt like dragging a boulder uphill. So I spent a lot of my time sitting on their old brown leather couch by the front window. The sunlight came through there just right. It felt warm. It felt familiar. But to Sienna, it looked like I was doing nothing. She was a social media type. Ring light on the kitchen counter. Tripod always standing somewhere. Her phone was basically another limb. She recorded makeup routines, mom life hacks, grocery hauls. Everything was content, and I became part of that content. At first, it was small jokes. A quick comment like, "This is my father-in-law, relaxing again," with a laugh. But eventually, the jokes stopped being jokes. One afternoon, she was filming a day in my life vlog. I was sitting exactly where I always did, quiet, minding my own business. She turned the camera toward me and said, laughing, "And here's Thomas, just sitting on the couch again. I swear he hasn't moved in 3 days." She laughed. Her viewers laughed. I didn't. I felt something inside me sink, but I stayed quiet. People think silence means acceptance. It doesn't. It means hurt has nowhere to go. But the worst part wasn't that moment. It was what came after. A few days later, she posted another video. This time, she wasn't joking. This time, she said, "That old man just sits on his couch all day. Must be nice to contribute nothing while other people do all the work." And this time, the video went viral. Strangers were commenting about me, calling me lazy, useless, dead weight. Some even said they would have put me in a nursing home. I sat there on that couch, the same place where I once held Margaret's hand during Sunday morning sunlight, and I felt something break. Not in my chest, not in my heart, but in my spirit. Because nobody in that video knew the truth. They didn't know why I sat so still, why I conserved every bit of energy, why every heartbeat was something borrowed, why I was trying so hard to stay alive just a little longer for my son. But no one knew because I had never told them. Not Sienna, not the internet, not even Michael. No one, not yet. The morning after the video went viral felt different. I woke up early, before anyone else, and sat in the kitchen with a cup of black coffee. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you think too much. I pulled out my old flip phone. It still had big numbers and a tiny screen. I opened the video. There I was, sitting on the couch, staring out the window, frozen in a moment I never agreed to share. Sienna's voice played over it. Cheerful, careless, cruel. He just sits there all day, like a piece of furniture. I mean, what even is he doing? And then the comments. So many comments. Girl, he's useless. Send him somewhere else. He's draining you. He's just waiting to die. I didn't know strangers could hurt you like that. I didn't know that judgment from people who had never spoken to you could feel so sharp. My hands trembled, not from anger, from something heavier. Shame. But the shame wasn't mine. It belonged to everyone who spoke without knowing a thing about me. Still, I felt it anyway. Later that morning, Michael came downstairs. He had dark circles under his eyes. Work had been rough on him lately. He poured himself coffee and sat across from me. "Morning, Dad," he said softly. "Morning," I replied. He looked at me for a moment, really looked, as if he could sense something was wrong. But before he could ask, Sienna walked in, energetic, bright, buzzing with attention. "Guys, guess what?" she said, smiling wide. "The video hit 200,000 views." My chest tightened. Michael didn't smile. "That video you made my dad?" he asked. Sienna shrugged, casual. "What? It's just a joke. People relate to it." Michael didn't answer. He looked at me instead. That's when I stood up. Slowly, carefully. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just said, "I'll be back later." I grabbed my coat, my walking cane, and I left the house. I walked down Maple Lane, past a mailbox, past the school playground, past the grocery store where Margaret and I used to buy flowers on Sundays. My legs were tired. My chest felt heavy. But I kept going. There's a bench by the river in our town. Old wood, chip paint, overlooking the water. That's where I sat. And that's where I remembered everything. The nights in the hospital waiting room. The way Margaret held our son's hand when he was hooked up to machines. The way I worked 3 jobs, mechanic, warehouse loader, and night janitor, just to pay for one more treatment. And the day I found out my own heart was failing. Doctors told me that because of Michael's medical history, there was a procedure, rare, complicated, but possible, where my life could be stretched just enough to continue supporting his. I didn't tell anyone, not because I wanted to be noble, but because I wanted my son to have a regular life, a normal life, a life where he didn't carry the guilt of my sacrifice. So I sat, quietly, every day, conserving strength, not for myself, but for him, because if one day he needed me again, I needed to still be alive. When I finally got up, evening had fallen. I walked home slowly, each step heavier than the last. When I entered the house, Sienna and Michael were eating dinner. Jack was drawing with crayons. I didn't say a word. I walked to the living room, sat at the coffee table, and pulled out a sheet of paper. And I wrote everything. The truth about Michael's childhood, the hospital years, the surgeries, the jobs, the nights without sleep, the reason my heart beats at a slower rhythm, the reason I sit still, the reason I hold on. I wrote, "I sit on that couch not because I am lazy. I sit because it is how I stay alive, and I stay alive for my family." And at the bottom, I am not useless. I just stopped explaining myself. I folded the letter, placed it on the table, stood up, and walked out the door again. This time, I didn't know if I would return. The house was quiet when I left. Not angry quiet, not peaceful quiet. Just the kind of quiet where something has shifted, even if no one has said it yet. I didn't go far this time. Just across the street, to the small neighborhood park where Jack sometimes played. The lamps were glowing softly, and the swing chains clinked in the wind. I sat on the bench next to the playground, the one facing the oak tree. It was the same bench I once sat on with Margaret the day we found out our son was going to live. She cried into my coat, laughing and sobbing at the same time. I remember telling her, "We're not done yet. We fight every day forward." I closed my eyes and breathed in the cold air. The ache in my chest pulsed slow and steady, reminding me I was still here, still fighting. Back at the house, things changed fast, because Michael found the letter. He didn't just read it. He collapsed into the couch where I always sat and cried harder than he had in years. Not loud crying, just silent, shaking. The kind that breaks a person open. Sienna tried to comfort him at first, rubbing his back, asking what was wrong. But the second her eyes scanned those words, the truth about the surgeries, the jobs, the sacrifices, my heart condition, the reason I move slowly, the reason I sit still, her face changed. She stopped breathing for a second. Her voice was small. He was protecting you? Michael nodded, but he couldn't speak. Sienna sat down, and for the first time since she moved into our home, she was quiet, the kind of quiet that comes when a person finally sees themselves clearly, and what they see isn't flattering. Michael tried calling me, then texting, then calling again, but I didn't bring the phone. I just sat under that oak tree as the night stretched on. Around 9 p.m., I heard footsteps, slow, uncertain ones. It was Jack, holding a tiny flashlight shaped like a dinosaur. He walked up to me and sat beside me without saying a word. Then he leaned against my arm, warm and small. After a minute, in his soft child voice, he said, "Daddy was crying. Mommy, too." I nodded. He looked up at me. "Grandpa, are you sad?" I swallowed. "I think I'm just tired." Jack took my hand. "You can rest with me. I don't think you're boring." Something inside me cracked. Not broken, just open. I pulled him close, and we stayed like that under the stars, the playground empty, the world hushed. After a while, Michael appeared at the edge of the park. He didn't run to me. He didn't rush. He walked slowly. His eyes were red. His hands were in his pockets. His voice trembled. "Dad, what you wrote?" I didn't know. I didn't know any of it. I nodded. "I didn't want you to feel like you owed me your life," I said quietly. He sat down beside me and wiped his face. "You gave me life. Twice. The least I could have done was try to understand the life you were living now." We sat there, the three of us, me, my son, my grandson, a family, imperfect but still one. Then Michael looked over his shoulder and motioned. Sienna was standing near the swings, frozen like she didn't know if she was allowed to come closer. I didn't look away. She walked slowly toward us, her arms wrapped around herself. When she reached me, she didn't speak right away. Then her voice came out, small and cracked. "I am so sorry. I thought you just didn't want to help. I didn't know. I never asked." Her sentence broke halfway through. She knelt down, head lowered, tears hitting the dirt. "I hurt you, and you didn't deserve that. And I don't know how to make it right." The wind blew through the trees. The swings creaked. And I realized something important. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting the pain. It was about choosing not to let the pain harden me. So I put my hand on her shoulder, and I said, "We learn. That's how we move forward." Sienna cried harder. Michael wrapped his arms around both of us. Jack climbed into the pile too. A messy, imperfect, loving pile. But the world didn't know this moment. The world only knew the video. And we were about to face it. The walk home that night was quiet. Not awkward quiet. Not tense. Just the kind of quiet that comes after truth has been spoken. I leaned on my cane, Michael by my side, Jack holding my other hand, and Sienna just a few steps behind, tears still streaming down her cheeks. When we reached the house on Maple Lane, something inside me felt lighter. The walls, once echoing with misunderstanding, now seemed to breathe with forgiveness. We didn't speak much at first. Jack ran to his room to play with his Legos. Michael went to the kitchen to make coffee. Sienna, well, she stayed by the couch. The same couch where the world thought I did nothing. I sat down slowly, letting the leather cushion mold to my body. Sienna hesitated, then sat across from me. No phone, no cameras, no audience, just us. "Can I?" she asked softly, gesturing toward the couch. I nodded. She sat down. For the first time, we shared that space quietly, and it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt real. Over the next few days, the house on Maple Lane changed. Not physically. The walls were the same. The furniture was the same. The carpets were the same. But the energy was different. Sienna stopped filming her dad on the couch content. Instead, she began asking questions, not for views, but for understanding. "What was Michael like as a kid?" she asked one morning. "Did you ever want to be an artist instead of a mechanic? Did you and Margaret ever travel anywhere together?" And I told her. I told her slowly, piece by piece, like planting seed in soil. Stories she had never heard, feelings she had never considered, memories that made her laugh and cry and finally respect me. Michael joined in too. Some evenings, all three of us sat there telling stories, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing. Jack, my little superhero, loved sitting beside me, sometimes leaning against me, sometimes asking the simplest questions. "Grandpa, why you sit here every day?" I would smile. "Because this is the best seat in the house," I said, and he would grin, satisfied, not needing any more explanation. A week later, Sienna posted a video, but this one was different. No bright lights, no makeup filters, no jokes, just her, sitting calmly on the couch, hands folded in her lap. "I need to tell the truth about my father-in-law," she began. "I posted a video that was disrespectful. I judged him without knowing his story. I embarrassed him online, and I hurt someone who has done more for our family than anyone could understand. I am sorry. I was wrong, and I am going to change." The comments flooded in, some critical, some supportive, some moved. But none of it mattered, because change doesn't live online. It lives in homes, in relationships, in the quiet moments when someone finally sees you for who you really are. Now I still sit on that couch, but I never sit alone. Michael, Sienna, Jack, they sit with me. Sometimes we read. Sometimes we talk. Sometimes we just sit quietly, watching sunlight through the windows. And I finally understand that living isn't about proving yourself to strangers online. It's about being present. It's about sharing moments. It's about letting love grow in the small, everyday spaces. Sienna no longer calls me that old man. Michael no longer worries about whether I'm contributing. Jack, he just calls me Grandpa, the title I've earned and the one I will never take for granted. Sometimes the people who appear to be doing nothing are the ones who have already given everything. And sometimes the people who think they know the story don't know the half of it. I sit on the couch every day now, not to survive, but to live, to love, to be loved. And that makes all the difference.